Clash of Clans today released a very insightful blog post entitled The State of the Game and What's Ahead. We want to start regularly updating you on our thinking around balance and the state of gameplay. Finally, hopefully, this is the start of Supercell providing more information and having better communication with us. This is the first of a regular blog post, and they give a lot of information in here, including concrete details about the next update. They do preface the blog, though, with a couple of paragraphs explaining how Clash is a 14-year-old game. With every town hall, their goal has remained the same: expand strategic depth, give players more meaningful choices, whilst keeping the game fresh without losing what makes Clash. And they said at Town Hall 16 and 17, powerful strategies were there and engaging, but the overall strategic diversity in strategies in recent times has not been as healthy as we or they would have liked it. There's one more sentence here I want to read before we get into the meat of the blog post, in which they say, "In a game as deep as Clash, balance is never finished," which is absolutely true, and we do have to bear that in mind when it comes to new troops, equipment, spells, siege machines being added. It's always adjusting the meta and the balance of the game, and sometimes that can enable other strategies as well. But the first topic they go over is hit rates and the meta direction. This is important to cover first because then they go over Ranked and Legend League and some of the adjustments they're going to make to that. So this section starts with the media golems. With the release of Town Hall 18, they basically pushed other strategies out of the spotlight. Why would you use a strategy that is just simply not as effective as the media golems? That's why in Legend League, 90% of the player base used the media golems. They did react pretty quickly to this, nerfing them. In fact, they did it twice over. But they say an interesting outcome was the resurgence of the life gem, because they had been incrementally buffing it. And essentially, it's not that it wasn't strong, but it's that the media golems just overshadowed it. So as they brought the media golems back into line, the adoption rate of the life gem increased significantly with other strategies, to the point where actually they realized that was too strong. It's just that it had been overshadowed. This does highlight some of the difficulty when it comes to balance changes, but I'm glad that they have shared with us here a graph that shows hit rates. Because most of the balance changes I've gone over in the past, all they have said is this troop is getting a buff because it has low use rate and low hit rate. This troop is getting a nerf because it has high hit rates and high use rate. They never really gave information, even though we constantly kept asking about it. But you can see that they do track things pretty significantly, and I'm glad that they're actually sharing some of this data with us. So this graph is from when Town Hall 18 released. It shows ranked hit rates in Legend League, ranked High Legend League, and it shows 1-star hit rates and 3-star hit rates. Interestingly, near the start of Town Hall 18, 1-star hit rates were almost at 20%, and 3-star hit rates were basically there as well. And they talk about this. They say that the compression is a clear sign of a polarizing meta, where either attacks work near perfectly or they completely fail.
Now, I think there's other things in play here. We did come from a Root Rider heavy meta, and then we came to a Town Hall where it wasn't a defense, so there's some adapting there as well. However, the Guardians were just so brutal. If you didn't get enough troops towards the Town Hall, that long shot would just splash and take you out. They've since tweaked that, but I think that's a lot of the reason for the 1-stars as well. However, you can notice the first balance change didn't really do too much. In fact, when you're looking at High Legend League, the hit rates continue to decline. Now, this is probably more an inkling of people upgrading their base, so bases are getting stronger, the meta and base designers are figuring out exactly how to defend better, and ultimately the balance changes really didn't do anything. It's the second round of balance changes where they also adjusted the modifiers, where you can see the increase in the Legend League hit rates, but also ranked in general as well, and that distinction from the 1-star is greater. The 1 stars are still relatively high, to be honest, around 15%. They were only 20%, so the 1 star rate has only come down slightly, but the 3 star rate has increased. I don't know what the hit rates are that they strive towards. Clearly, 1 stars have to be, if you mess up, you deserve to get a 1 star. But essentially, there's a much clearer difference there now as well. And whilst they only showed this one image, they did say that the current picture shows a more diverse meta usage is spread across a wider range of troops rather than concentrated on a single dominant strategy. So this is meaningful progress. We clearly don't see what the individual hit rates of strategies are within this. We got to take their word on that. But since they are sharing such in-depth information on here, I think we can trust that that is the case. And that's what we generally see as well when it comes to the defense log. There's certainly more variety than there was back when media golems dominated. Interestingly, looking at the Dragon Duke, they talk about this as well and basically just how they're going to monitor it. But I think it's interesting that you see the dip from the Dragon Duke after it had been maxed for that period of time and then the maxed went away. But also, people are gradually upgrading their base. They're working out how to defend it. So in High Legends, you can see that clear dip once people didn't have the Dragon Duke maxed. But essentially, they are going to continue evaluating this and any adjustments will be communicated in advance, which again is great to hear. That communication is being more forthcoming and is always welcomed. Bravo to Supercell on actually giving us in-depth information like this. This is the first part where we get some confirmation of the next update, because they say, we have also heard the feedback around wanting more troop upgrades earlier in the Town Hall cycle.
Expanding upgrade paths is an important part of keeping armies evolving and strategies fresh. So the next update will bring more troop upgrades to troops like the Dragon and the Yeti, among others. So they don't list them all, but we will be getting a new Dragon level and a new Yeti level in the next update, which is exciting. Dragons are a lot of people's favorite troops, super dragons as well. I personally use the Fireball into Hero Dive, which utilizes the Yetis, so that will help me. How these changes land will inform how we approach troop upgrades in future Town Hall releases. So certainly they are looking at, do they release more troops earlier on, or actually is it just that they messed up the kind of meta and the balance of Town Hall 18 and the troop releases weren't as big of a deal? As always, shifts in balance and progression can open up opportunities for different strategies to return or evolve over time. And that's important as well, like throughout the lifespan of a town hall. I think it's good to get those new troop levels coming in as well, just to try and keep the meta feeling fresh across the year before we get the next town hall. They do talk very briefly here about balancing across different skill levels before they then give us some really good information on changes we can expect for Ranked and Legend League. So let's go over this one first though, real quick. Clash is played at many different levels, from casual daily attacks to high competitive play. We've known this for a long time. They've struggled with the balance, and that's why they introduced the different modifiers to try and allow the competitive players to really have that competitive area and the more casual players to continue enjoying Clash as they do. Sometimes a strategy performs normally for the majority of players but becomes oppressive at the top. Other times an issue appears broadly at all skill levels. Their responsibility is to look at both, and they aim to balance for the overall health of the game across all segments. So when there are outliers in either general play or highly play, they will look to address those. It doesn't mean that they only balance for pro players, it doesn't mean that they ignore them, it just means that they do have to look at strategic depth for all of the different players. And this last line is definitely interesting as well, where they say balance is not about making every strategy equal. It is about ensuring multiple viable paths to success exist and that skill expression continues to matter. So I would agree with that. I do think that when they say every strategy equal, that's really hard to quantify because even if they did that, people have different play styles. Some people are better at air attacks or ground attacks. Some people are good with a giant arrow and not so good. So like, how would they balance a strategy to be equal? I guess it proves their point. As long as there's a diverse group of strategies, then different people can choose the strategy that best meets their playstyle.
Now we get to the good stuff. Ranked mode, Legend League, Clan War Leagues, and the ore economy. So, starting with ranked mode, they introduced some smaller changes in February aimed at making the experience feel less grindy. They were very minimal. I'm not sure that that did anything, to be honest. The next steps focused on making ranked easier to understand and more satisfying to compete in. Interesting. I think that is a hard task. Let's see what they have to say. We are improving how performance is displayed during tournaments, making results clearer to follow, and refining leaderboard navigation so it is more intuitive. That definitely helps with the ranked easier to understand. Not the most satisfying to compete in, though. But let's continue. Along these improvements, we are also refining several parts to the ranked experience, including clearer battle logs, better leaderboard visibility, clearer visibility of active defensive layouts, and smoother promotion and demotion flows. Again, probably more the easier to understand than satisfying to compete in. Maybe the promotion and depromotion flows, if they get that right, could tie into more satisfying to compete in. We're also exploring ways to give players more breathing room within the ladder so they can take time to step away from pushing without immediate risk of demotion. Hallelujah, we should have just had a longer league decay in the first place. 1 week needs to be extended. Many of these improvements benefit players across the entire ladder, including Legend League. Now this next paragraph, okay, take 5 or 10 seconds, roll a couple of clips. I should be allowed to use my heroes in friendlies because it's a friendlies. Friendlies are friendlies. We should draw the line there and be allowed to use our heroes within them, even if they're upgrading. A friendly is a friendly. So, in my point of view, I totally think they should just be allowed. But I think for a friendly battle, they should just be allowed. To support practice and experimentation, heroes and pets will be usable in friendly challenges and friendly wars, even whilst they're upgrading, so that you can continue testing strategies without interruption. I have only asked numerous times, year after year, but we finally have this. I can understand their rationale of not wanting to allow heroes whilst they're upgrading, but we can draw a line in the sand that a friendly is a friendly. There's no slippery slope. Let us use them whilst we're upgrading so we can improve our skills in Clash, which will transfer across to ranked mode, and we can have fun with friendly wars. Competitions that the community put together aren't hindered when a new hero is released and you have to upgrade it, and then you know you don't have it for those friendly wars. Massive, massive step in the right direction here. I am so glad that they have finally added this, so at least we can practice with our heroes. Moving down though, Legend League specific updates. I'm also excited about this because this is feedback that I gave to Supercell last summer before Ranked even came out, and I know many other creators gave similar feedback to this as well. We are working on a deeper structural update to Legend League. The highest level of competition should feel distinct, prestigious, and clearly defined. So, they're going to make clearer competitive progression within Legend League itself. Players will be able to continue climbing through multiple layers of Legend League, ultimately culminating in competition among the top 10,000 players at the very top of the ladder. Fantastic. They can crank up the modifiers for those top 10,000 players, and they can get the modifiers right for the other players so that they can still be competitive if they can work towards that top area. But it's not just so brutal because it's impossible to get modifiers that work for the best of the best in the game. And 100,000 players is just way too many for a single modifier. To be honest, even the skill gap in 10,000 players is drastic. When you look at the actual hit rates of the top 100 players down to the top 1,000 and then extrapolating that out, the skill gap is just exponential. But either way, top 10,000. If you're in the top 10,000, you're wanting to be competitive. You are a lot more okay with a lower hit rate because you are literally striving to try and be as competitive as possible. So I love that that is the direction that they're going in.
We will go more in depth on how the transition in the new Legend League structure will work as we get closer to release, so no information as to whether that's the next update or whether it's a future update. But either way, I am glad that they are sharing that this is the direction, because I do think when they adjusted the modifiers, obviously a lot of the pro players at the very top of Legend League, well, they were naturally upset. They want a more difficult game. So at least knowing that they are working on this, brilliant. That's where communication can go a long way. It doesn't then appear that you've just forgot about and, you don't care about those players. So I'm glad that this blog post is going into as much detail as it is. These changes go beyond surface-level adjustments and are intended to elevate what it means to compete at the top. One thing I would add to this, and I know we've had discussion among the creator chat about this sort of stuff, and I mentioned it in a video where I talked about how to fix ranked and Clash in general, but I wouldn't like to see the star bonus in that of the ore increased as you move up through these Legend Leagues, because I think the players at the top, they don't care about a tiny little bit extra ore, but you don't want people feeling like they strive too far to where they don't enjoy the game. If you're in Legend League, you have the top amount of star bonus that there is, and then above that, maybe you can add cosmetic-based rewards.
Your legend trophies you can use to get decorations, hero skins, any other cosmetics they might add in the future. The people at the top, they don't compete for a tiny little bit extra ore. They compete to be on the leaderboard, push themselves, and for this prestige of being at the top of the leaderboard. So I think as long as they have these different leagues within Legend League, or the different layers they've called it, the star bonus should cap out once you hit Legend League. That's the only thing I would like to add to this. But otherwise, obviously, we'd have to see details to give more concrete feedback, but I think this sounds very exciting that they're moving in that direction. Let's move to Clan War Leagues though, because they have improvements in the works for this, and again, very exciting stuff. Since Clan War Leagues was introduced, there's obviously been numerous town hall releases, and what that's meant is the leaderboards have become increasingly compressed in the middle leagues, and that leads to a lot of mismatches basically, which is a highly frustrating thing for Clan War Leagues. So to address this, they are going to expand the Clan War League ladder by adding 4 additional leagues. The goal is to spread out the clans more evenly across the system. It will make progression feel more achievable because now you have more leagues to kind of move up through if you're towards the top. Next paragraph, they reiterate that hopefully this helps with mismatches a bit, but as part of this, medal rewards will increase for most clans in the system. Rewards in some leagues may be reduced as the ladder expands and clans move into newly introduced tiers, but for the higher leagues, the main benefit will come from the expanded ladder itself. Promotion opportunities should be more attainable for clans, and at the same time, the expanded leagues will create room for more higher-level competition. The highest league will mirror the difficulty of Legend League, while selected leagues below will introduce league-specific modifiers that create distinct competitive environments across tiers. So, basically, rather than adding modifiers to the current Champions League, they are going to add new leagues, and those new leagues will have modifiers that are mirrored across from ranked mode. So, I think that's great. 15 versus 15 will remain the primary competitive format in Clan War Leagues, but if demand continues to grow, they might expand that over time. But essentially what they're saying first is with the Clan War Leagues, we can expect 4 new leagues, rewards should go up, and modifiers will be in those leagues. So that's great. I do think that there should be, and I gave this feedback, there should be some sort of re-ranking every once in a while because there's no matchmaking in the Clan War Leagues once you are matched. So when you first sign up to Clan War Leagues, you are ranked into a league based on the bases that you sign up with and how highly upgraded they are, how high your town hall level is, but also how highly upgraded your base is. But then there's no re-ranking. It's purely just if you promote or if you demote. So that's it. Clans can sign up with weak bases, pull Town Hall 18s into the clan, and then they don't get re-ranked. They're just matched. And I seen this with the Clan War League in the 5 versus 5. The mismatches were all over the place. So this will help, which is great, but I do think they should look at not constantly reseeding. I do like the promotion-demotion side of things, but maybe there's some sort of in ranked mode, they have the Town Hall floor. Maybe there's something whereby you can't just be in a low league spinning Town Hall 18s and blasting your opponent. That's not fun for anyone. That's a difficult thing for them to figure out. However, I do think it's important that they do try and look at somewhat seeding of the matchmaking. Anyways, let's move on to the ore economy. This is another area that needs improvement. Unfortunately, they don't give many details here. System is not optimal. Access to ore directly affects how freely players can upgrade and experiment with equipment, which has a real impact on overall experience. We are actively working on finding new and more consistent ways for players to obtain ore later this year. Any adjustments need to be handled carefully since they affect long-term progression across the game. Improving reliability and overall access is something we are committed to addressing. It's good that they've said they are looking to address this. We have heard this before, we've seen tiny little tweaks, but nothing major. So let's see how they improve this. I think there's a lot of low-hanging fruit that they can use here, right? The re-engagement feature when you come back to the game, why do you not get ore there? It's so easy to add ore for people that are re-engaging with the game. So returning players, they are the people that are most impacted from this. Then they get some ore to catch up on. Maybe even they get a piece of equipment or two. Every 5 levels of hero upgrades, we should get some ore. That would mean that it's more impactful to upgrade heroes. Maybe not every level, but previously you'd get an extra ability level every 5, and I think that would be cool. Every 5 hero levels you get some ore. Maybe even as you upgrade your town hall you get some ore or something. I'm not too sure on that one, but either way, I think connecting to the heroes in hero levels is great.
Let us practice with equipment have similar to the Super Troop training ground. I know they have the mighty morsel, but we don't have it all of the time. There should be a place where in the blacksmith you can try a piece of equipment and you can just go into a training ground and try it. And then at least people can know, oh, okay, I do actually want to unlock this piece of equipment from the trader shop. I do actually want to invest my ore into this equipment. Right now, you don't really have that. So I'm glad they're looking at this overall system, but they can just take advantage of a couple of little things like that as well, just to improve things in the interim. Moving down to the bottom, looking ahead. For 14 years and counting, Clash has continued to evolve. New strategies rise, old ones return, and every update shifts how the game is played. That constant change is part of what keeps Clash exciting, I would agree. The passion from the community fuels that evolution. We deeply appreciate the constructive feedback. That's why I'm saying, share it in the comments, share it on Reddit. As long as it's constructive and you're actually giving some ideas and rationale as to why you're saying what you're saying, then that's great. They do respond to that from players of all levels, including many of our content creators who help surface discussions around strategy, balance, and progression. Like I said, creators will share their own feedback naturally. I share a lot of feedback with Supercell, but equally we will share the collective feedback from our communities with the team as well. We develop this game for you, and we always want to hear what you think. I think that's really important. They do develop the game for us. The better we respond to the game, the better off Supercell are as well. So it is in their best interest to listen to us. We will not always get everything perfect immediately, but we care deeply about improving over time and making decisions that support the long-term health of Clash. Our goal is simple: keep the game strategic, competitive, and most importantly, fun. There is a lot more ahead, and we look forward to building it together with all of you. I have to say, hats off to the Clash of Clans team for actually giving us in-depth information. I really hope that they stick to their word and continue to do this periodically, so that we are informed about what they are looking to bring to the game. We can ultimately give feedback on that earlier, and the community at large can, so that they can see, even if of content creators, the Legend League thing, I gave a lot of that feedback, but they just didn't hear it in volumes, I guess, right? If they share stuff like this, the community can respond, and they can act more proactively to develop the game in their own words, for us. Let me know what you think of the blog post, but I will place a recommended video from my channel on your screen that YouTube thinks you will like, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.